So I will call the meeting to order. There is an announcement. In accordance with Board Procedure BP 5, this meeting will be live streamed and recorded and can be viewed on the DASD YouTube channel. So I will call the meeting to order. Rebecca, was the meeting properly noticed?
Yes.
And Anne, can we have a roll call, please?
Sure. Jan Berg. Ryan Coker.
Here.
Sue Esser. Here. Jeff Hahn. Here. Linda Lenhart. Here. Gussie Lewis.
Present.
Gail Lovett.
Here.
Stephanie Sarr.
Here.
Megan Taylor.
Here. Thank you.
Thank you.
That brings us to the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Brings us to mission, vision, and equity statement.
The mission of the DeForest Area School District is to provide an excellent education and engage, challenge, and inspire all students to pursue their full potential. The vision is the DeForest Area School District is committed to a culture that honors knowledge, respects individuals, demands excellence, fosters lifelong learning, and supports relationships that strengthen individuals, families, and community. And our equity statement. We believe every student can learn and deserves equitable access to high quality, rigorous, and engaging learning opportunities. So we will ask questions, foster relationships, manage resources, and create systems to increase and sustain access, equity, and safety for all learners.
Thank you. That brings us to approving the agenda. Would somebody care to make that motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
And we have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. That brings us to board business, presentation and possible approval of board policy OE6, financial administration. Welcome, Kathy.
Thank you. Would you like the most, or do you want to just tell me?
I'll just
Okay.
do that. That'd be great. Thank you. If you can want to just go to the next slide. So OE6, the general purpose is just to make sure we're monitoring the financial status of the district, that we're meeting the operational expectations and goals that ensure that we're long-term, really good fiscal health, and we've safeguarded our financial resources. It monitors how well we're ensuring timely payments, we're being responsible stewards of our obligations, we're making value-driven decisions for our purchases. We're collaborating with our auditor and collecting funds that are due. We're paying all of our debts on time. We're complying with board policy, and overall just making sure that we're adhering to good, generally accepted practices and procedures. The main evidence for OE6 comes from the financial audit. I would say this is probably 90% of what is the work that we do in the financial department leads to this, to make sure they reviewed everything, they follow our practices, they know our policies, they make sure our financials are in good order for financial statement reporting. Just a lot of things in here that really just provide a lot of evidence that we are being good stewards of the district's resource. I did provide a few of you copies because the meeting was before the meeting, but I do have some more. I didn't ask Brian, Jesse, or Linda yet if you want it. Paper copies? Okay. I'll make sure to give you those. But yeah, this is probably where I referenced mostly in OE6 back to this one. Other evidences would be our DPI reports that I have to submit annually for budget and for annual reports. I also do some sampling of large purchases, and we have also evidences that just exist of like our processes and procedures that we have documented those things and available for our staff to use, and also our procedure matrix. And next slide, please. Talking a little bit more about this year's financial audit. Overall, I think it was a really good audit, pretty clean in my understanding. I would encourage you, if you haven't had a chance to look through the digital version that I think you've already had. If you're short on time, I would always recommend reading the letters to the board. I think this, if there ever is anything that isn't working out right, or of concern, this is usually the way the auditors would inform you of that. There's also a management analysis in here as well that just kind of gives you kind of an overview of the year financially that you may find interesting. Overall, I think there are 13 of 15 of our areas that I would consider in compliance, and hopefully you agree as well. And those are all, you know, I have it listed on that slide there. I won't read through it, but for the most part, it's the things that are just really important, making sure we're paying things on time, paying and using our processes, making sure that we're following policy, not just the board's policy, but also our district internal policies and procedures. Just basically following the rules when we're dealing with district finances. And we'll go to the next slide. There are a few areas this time that I want to bring to your attention because I feel that there are a few areas that we need to improve on. We're already working on improving on, but I would consider them not a perfect compliance for these two areas. And the first one is 6.9 indicator 1. By fund level, we're not supposed to exceed what was last approved by the board. And so by funds, I mean Fund 10, Fund 27, 50, those are by the fund level that I would consider. General fund was fine. That is our biggest operating budget that we use in the district. And that one came in actually under the last board approved budget. Our Fund 27, 50, and 80 did come in a little bit over the board's last approved budget, which I believe was on June 9th. And Fund 27, the special education fund, that was covered by more revenue than exceeded the budget. So really there wasn't any resolved issue with that. And then Fund 50 was covered by Fund 50's reserves, and Fund 80 mostly covered by additional revenue as well for Fund 80, and then a little bit of the reserves for that too. So there's no impact on the general fund for any of those areas. However, I noted it obviously in the monitoring report because it's important to disclose that. I do like to be better at budgeting than where we ended up. Sometimes I'd like to be as close as possible, but I just was a bit off in estimating, I think, the end of year expenditures for both those three funds. And I've reviewed kind of where I was off to see how can I do that better. And that is basically my action plan, is just to work on that, to see if I can get a little bit closer at the end of the year. I know I'll never be perfect on it, but it's my goal just to try to be a little more accurate in my estimations at the end of the year. And then the next one is, if we could advance the slide, if you don't mind, is I think the last indicator of the monitoring report is 615 indicator 2. And this is about getting funds that are donated, gifts to the district, making sure that we're not exceeding the donation amount for the expense that's related to that. But we did have an area that did exceed it. We have already started working on an action plan for that, and that has involved some monthly meetings with that department to review the budget, fundraising efforts. We've recovered most of the overage already and do have plans in place to make sure that that has been covered in the near future. And then moving forward, just making sure that we're reviewing those things more frequently so we can avoid that in the future. And that's the two areas of concern that I would identify in the monitoring report. We do have indicator revisions I'm suggesting. I think that's part of the next board item. It's basically just a naming difference. DPI has kind of phased out their old reporting titles, which was the PI 1505, which I think was the budget report, in 1506, which I think was either the annual report or the audit report. And they're just calling them WISE-FIP reports, WISE-FIP annual report, WISE-FIP budget report, because they have this new system, which actually is kind of a really nice reporting system, because it basically, we submit the information from our financial system directly to DPI, and it goes directly to their reporting system. It's still not perfect, but I think it's going to really help with transparency and having numbers more readily available, and making sure that all districts are using the same account codes, so it's a little bit easier to compare when you're looking at analysis for financial expenditures. And that is all I have for that.
So for that reason, we have marked the report compliance with exceptions noted. I do want to say that Kathy Davis does a fabulous job predicting our budget. It's over a $60 million budget. And we're, sharing with you that there was a 9,598 discrepancy in Fund 21. So just know that this is, she says this is out of compliance, but we are so very, very tight and making sure you have all the information. So just want to know that we are with exceptions and know that we continue to monitor that particular Fund 21 as well.
I'll make a motion to accept the report as written.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we now own the report and can ask questions of Kathy or Rebecca.
I have the first question. It's not really a question, it's a statement. Are you the author of this slide deck that you presented?
Yes, I use Canva though for it.
Well, whoever did it, it's perfect. Like I understood it so well. I would ask that we could do that with everybody's, but that's my ask. Because it was so clear to read
Her
and
presentation,
Yeah.
I thought the same thing. It was exceptionally.
Okay, so
clear.
directors, hopefully you heard that. Well,
An example.
so I mean, I went through like, oh, these are things that are compliance. I could go right to it, read it. It was really nice, so thank you.
Well, I did decide to up my game because my presentations were getting kind of old because of the directors behind me, because I feel like their stuff is so good. And I'm like, I gotta step up. Thank you.
And then the other question I have about the food fund, like to me, that would be the one that's most predictable.
Yeah.
Like the other ones I can see, there's some things that can move, but like with food, I don't know what our fence posts are. I don't know how that goes, but
Right.
do we have the ability to adjust pricing through school years or are we locked? I don't know how that goes.
Some of it, we do get set like prices because Becky bids it through a co-op that other Wisconsin school districts are in. We don't know what our usage is gonna be though.
I'm sorry, the prices to the end user, the child.
Oh, for the revenue.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I didn't clarify that question.
Yeah. That one's actually really hard to predict because we never know how many kids are going to take lunch at any given day.
Yeah.
Sometimes it depends on the menu. Sometimes it depends on how many kids are in school. I know that Becky's been working very hard this year at upping the participation. But it really is so dependent on menu, kids, and choices for that day.
and I think what's always tricky about that is not just predicting the participation, but also figuring out what's the breaking point of price where people won't take the lunch if it's too expensive. So that's where the dilemma is in not having all the predictable information.
So the stuff is pre-purchased, right? The food is
I would say to some extent, you can only, I think they lock in certain prices for certain quantities. But I'm not sure if we know that we're not gonna need as much,
right. You can't.
try to use up what we have in inventory first.
So, I don't know, I'm jumping in.
Oh,
Does this count for food waste, the fund?
Fund 50 would be, all the revenue and expenditures that Fund 50 takes in for selling a la carte breakfast, lunch, and then the food costs, the labor costs as well. Any inventory that they would need to operate that program.
Is there an offset? So I think of because it's hard to predict who's going to participate, is there an overage in inventory that is eventually thrown away? That's kind of,
I would say Becky and her team manage that pretty well.
okay.
Sometimes you get stuff that it's gonna expire and you have to dispose of, but they really try to meal plan around that. There's so much data that Becky is always looking at for inventory quantities and how much a certain meal needs. And then we also have inventory that can have a longer shelf life that we account for the inventory in the current year and then use it the next year.
What is the school lunch today? I'm probably embarrassed to ask that
Oh,
question.
Christ, I should know that too.
I don't know it either,
Um,
off the top of my head. Well, we can give that to you though.
yes, I got
I'm just curious.
Yeah.
My question revolve around Fund 27, and special ed. Not necessarily that we're doing anything wrong, but just as a Board of Education, what you think that we could do to help advocate on a legislative or state level to get the funding for that account, I guess I'll say.
Yeah, thank you. I know that this board's aware that, you know, we were promised 42% for this year and 45 for next year. We're getting more like 35%. For DeForest, that's like 850 grand less. Granted, I wasn't counting on 42 in the budget because it's fallen short the last several years. But that's a huge swing in what is promised at budget time and what we get. I think the biggest thing is to just help share that information with people that will listen and, you know, reach out to legislators. The more noise, I think, the more people will hear.
Yeah, and what's most frustrating about that particular topic is the fact that that passed in the budget and all districts planned their budgets around that. And now it's literally back to 35%. So we need that some sufficient component where you can't plan a budget and then have the rules change halfway through.
Well, I just think if we're asking her to be, or she's trying to be more accurate representation of the budget, and yet we're not, that would be an unpredictable thing for you to manage. And for a large sum, I mean, you can assume that it's going to be a little less, even, you know, a couple percent would be a huge amount in the budget. Comparatively.
I got one more food question. We have a new pyramid, right? Food pyramid that has a much heavier emphasis on protein and higher quality milk. Is that going to affect how we're going to get, are we shifting to that new pyramid, and will that affect this number?
Yeah, I might pause you on that because I think that's a good question. And if we're more interested in food service, I think Becky Terry is probably the one to bring back on that.
Sure. And that's fine, it's not right, but it's.
Because we can ask
into
about
this fund.
cost and food waste, and if there's more interest from the board on learning about food service and
Sure.
obviously the financial impact that we're having on that we're seeing, we can definitely bring her back. I think
So
that's a
the
good
high
idea.
school cost of lunch though is $3.60. So.
Okay.
And it is on the website.
Other questions for Kathy?
I have a question. There was the article in the State Journal about Madison schools unpaid meal debt spiking. And so I was just curious about how much unpaid meal debt do we have? And I'm not.
Another one for.
Yeah, we'll let Becky come and do an update.
So that would be
The
retroactive.
board. Yeah.
But I wondered, and I also saw that in some districts recently, donors had just paid off the meal debt,
Yes.
like McFarland and someplace
Yes,
else.
that was in the news.
And so I'm thinking that would be really interesting for us to know how much is it, and maybe if we.
And we
have-
do get donations from wonderful community members that help pay off, not pay off all the debt, but they help pay towards it.
So you
So
are giving money toward that, for that purpose already.
we have had that. Mhm.
I'm very generous.
So that, I think that would be really interesting to know and might encourage more. If we had a presentation.
And you did in your report say that there was a new implementation during this school year as far as collection of unpaid funds
Right.
too, which I think is more debt collection for those that are negative balances. There's a new implementation this school year that went into effect this school year on collecting any unpaid debt services that was in the report.
And actually, that's good for the board to know because we are enforcing that more than ever. And that may come your way then at some point too.
Yeah.
So.
I just have one more question. I know you said in the end of the report as far as more towards like pool. Can you explain a little bit more on that?
The difference between what I was estimating for both revenue and expenses was understated on my part. And it's a good thing because our pool, Lynette Rather, our pool manager, is just doing great things there, and it's being used more. It's very well used, actually. I think it's one of the highest used spaces, I think, outside of school hours. But with that comes, there's more revenue and more lifeguard costs that I wasn't anticipating.
Okay.
And so I just need to work with Lynette more on better understanding what those might be.
I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't stated directly what it was, so I just wanted to make sure it wasn't a part where we weren't, as far as like the maintenance
I'm
of the
prepared.
pool. Yeah, that we were like, wait a minute, like, we're not prepared for that, like,
No, it's the use of the
Okay,
pool.
okay.
It's the community use.
that makes more sense.
That was my question too. Was it because it's more use, is there more maintenance?
It probably would trickle down to maybe utilities. I mean, there's always maintenance with the pool. It's always gonna have that, but I wouldn't have the data necessarily on.
I guess I had a little bit of a question on the last indicator, and that was, so, you know, looking at the point itself, it's about donations not obligating the district to more than the donation's worth. And I guess I'm interested in what sort of controls we have versus need there. I guess what you found from that.
I think for this one, it was more of lack of awareness of the items being purchased being more expensive than what was received.
So it wasn't necessarily that the donation said you need to do this thing and this thing is an obligation.
No.
Yeah, that's,
Donation value.
yeah,
So it wasn't actually obligating.
didn't tie us to,
It was just more of a lack of control on purchasing.
Utilizing a credit card versus a purchase order. So those are things that we have control over and can firm up, like we're firmed up. And some of that's with professional development of staff as we've grown and making sure our people that are doing the ordering and in charge of ordering really know our protocols really well.
Any other questions?
That's actually my other question was, is there additional professional development that's needed? I mean, in addition to the unpredictable variables, I'm assuming we have ongoing professional development to people in the each department and folks who are doing the recording. But just to say, I'm sure that's an ongoing challenge as people are changing positions.
That's for the business office in particular. Kathy spends a lot of time trying,
too.
and Karen, yep, our accountant, to make sure that that our people have the knowledge.
yeah. And we're, I mean, it's true with, I mean, just being a growing district and, you know, changing staff. But I'm realizing more and more that I got to tell people what the processes are and procedures because they're new and they don't know. And we got to make it more easily readable, and having Karen, our accountant, work on, you know, updating a lot of our processes and making sure that we'll have access to them. And it's been so helpful because we really have had a need to do a lot more professional development than before.
So, I mean, we talked about board orientation, so it's like orientation
Yeah.
for everybody.
Very true.
Based on positions, right?
There's always more we could do too.
Absolutely.
Anything else for Kathy or Rebecca? Seeing none, would somebody care to make a motion on their report?
Make a motion to approve the report as presented.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you, Kathy. That brings us to review of your potential indicator changes. Kathy kind of went over them in her report. There were two kind of minor. Everybody saw those. Is there any questions for Kathy on those potential indicator changes? It just sounded like a name, renaming it.
Yeah.
Seems pretty clear to me. Yeah. Call it what it is. Yeah.
Pretty black and white. This was an easy one.
Yeah. Okay, nothing on those. Then I think we're good with you. We just need input for a summary statement for OE6, if somebody would care to give that. Thoughts?
Thank you, Kathy.
I think we do need to notate Jeff's comment and Linda's comment about the presentation, and the ease of being able to read it.
Yep.
I think further discussion on food service requested.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to get more information.
Just a better understanding.
It's been a while since we've seen Becky.
Yeah.
It's nice to have her.
There's been enough changes
Yeah.
there, so.
I do think Fund 27 is important to mention only because it highlights a bigger issue that the board can be involved in as far as advocacy for special ed. Anything else that needs to maybe go in there?
I think we should again compliment Kathy on, on the excellent job that she does for the district. And while there are little tweaks that, that were apparent, I think overall, that just how much we appreciate her and the position that she puts the district in.
Yeah. Agreed.
And while, there were compliance with exception, the processes that are coming out of those mistakes that were found, however you phrase that, so we realize there's an error here. And this is what we can do to fix it, and kind of beyond even just the basic, setting in the new processes, the accountant procedures and everything, and making them available to more people.
And since we're having someone come in to talk about food service, would that include the way we're enforcing the debt collection? Or that, for, any debt?
After that, Kathy would
Kathy
probably
would be with Becky on that.
Yeah, they could probably do a partner
Yeah,
talk
if
on
we
it.
could, have that in there as well, that would be.
But is there other debt too outside of
Yes.
just food service?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Right,
All
like,
debts.
so
Yeah.
we would wanna, right, because there's people that probably haven't been able to pay school fees or whatever,
Yep.
so.
Mhm.
So when, Rebecca, when you said that before, that you guys are leaning into debt collection overall, not specifically just food service.
That was in the report. That there was a new implementation of that. Everybody good?
I got it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Stephanie. That brings us to presentation and possible approval of OE 12 facilities monitoring.
So we have a team coming up, I believe. We have Roz, Dan Hansen, and Katie Reynolds.
It's right in the middle of the two. It's a team approach. You gotta have. And Jeff, I have to apologize for my presentation right now. Kathy and I have already talked here. It's like before we begin to know. It's be good. So just as a reminder to everyone, OE12 has not been in compliance. So earlier this year on October 13th, we actually came kind of give an update about where we are with everything. What are some things that we're doing? So today I'll kind of be focusing back on the 2024-25 school year and looking ahead to see what we're doing currently this year to show that progress towards that. Before we begin, I had some confusion that was shared with me about maybe my report. So maybe go through that first before we go into everything. So Ann, can I drive for a second or Rebecca?
Yeah.
Second.
So we had a board member ask a couple of questions, and my suggestion to Roz was to bring the information for the whole board to help explain some of the indicator questions. Do you want to go into the actual report, Roz? With that?
No, actually, I'm going to start with, if everybody has a copy of the board, that way I can
Yep.
kind of go with that. I kind of want to show some of the data that I'm sharing with everyone. This is a platform that we're using now called the Reveal platform. If you remember, I shared with you that we started this last year, and this tracks all of our assets within the district. Along with that, it also gives a facility condition index score, and that's kind of what I tried to bring forward in 12.1 indicator 4 that talks about, actually, as it's written, that's supposed to be done every 5 years. But what this report shows is it's a yearly input, and actually, we update our data every time we do a major project. So whether Katie's staff does it or Dan's staff does it, we update our data within there to change our numbers so we can kind of have an idea about where our building's sitting in any point in time during the school year. And it tracks it over time. So when you look here, I showed where we were going from buildings that were noticed as good, fair, or poor, and you can see the color discrimination there. But what I want to show more than anything is between 24, 25, and currently today, you'll see a lot of the arrows going down, which is good. Lower numbers are good. It's almost like golf. We want our numbers to get low, showing that the percentage of it's better to keep going what we are than replace the building in general. And so when we look over time, what you'll notice, if I can find the mouse, here we go. A different way to look at it is you'll see that drop, especially the work that we did this past summer, some of our major replacements, and throughout the school year, really to show that our buildings are becoming, our facility condition index score in all of our buildings actually went down over the past year, which is a good thing. So confusing, sorry, I'll find a better way to do that. But as we get to know that data better, the goal really is to get our facilities all within that good range, which is the highest range that we have with that. So seeing constant improvement is important. Even in our newest buildings, we're continually improving on things and replacing things in a good manner and making sure that what we're replacing needs to be replaced, and a lot of other things that play into that, especially a preventative maintenance plan through maintenance, and then just our general care within our custodial department as well. Another area is our work order system, which, to be quite honest with you, is confusing at best when it comes to the indicator. I'm not ready to change it yet because we're kind of learning how does our work order system work. I reported out just in general with the percentages of work orders within 30 days. I did not record the 7 days. So looking back at that, we had 2,403 total work orders in the 24-25 school year, and 73% of them were completed within 7 days. The rest of them were not, but our average completion is 12.14 days that we would complete our work orders throughout the school year, which fits within that time frame. Yet what we're finding is a lot goes into that completion, whether it's an expertise that we need to bring in from the outside, or can't get a part that comes in, or it just takes a long time to get that. Maybe we can't fix that because of the weather outside, those types of things. We're really learning our work order system right now and what it takes. So look for changes to come later on, but really our focus is completing those as quick as possible and communicating with people that we fixed them and it doesn't fit their needs with everything. So when we look at OE12 in general, we still have some areas that we need to work on just in general that we did not fit with our compliance with everything, but definitely going forward. But you'll see 12.1 indicator 6 and indicator 7 we were not compliant with, and then 12.2 indicator 1, and then 12.4 indicator 1, 2, and 3. Definitely an improvement what we had, but still some work to do. And so when we look at just the report in general over our entire year of 24-25, we've got a number of things that are going well around safety, our reunification team development and training that we're doing not only within our district, but across our county has really been helpful. And you wonder, why are we focusing on county? Because we do realize that when an event happens, it's not going to just be with us. So it's constant training and getting the whole county together. And we are all but, I think, 2 schools in Dane County that follow our procedures and protocols. So that's a really good thing that we've got consistency across the county with that. Our emergency drills are fantastic, not only at the building level, but district level. Like today alone, we did a drill with our incident command team and just involving our outside resources with EMS, fire, and law enforcement, and how they work together with us and are at the table when we do these drills. Really, really helps with that. And then we were able to develop a radio system that works across our district that's networked, thanks to the help of our tech department. And this really helps with our communication in an emergency and outside of emergency. We now have reliable communication devices that work across our district. We're working hard on our maintenance and our facilities. The preventive maintenance, as we talked about in October, we developed it during the 24-25 school year. And then when Dan came in August, we've implemented that. So we've seen some very big cost savings and very big problems, but been able to fix those as well. Misuse of facilities, you'll see that a change in OE12 from last year, implementing a way to record when misuse happens, whether it's vandalism, accidents, work wasn't done correctly in the first place, whatever that becomes, we now can track that to see why are things not operating in the way they should be within our district, which helps us in solving problems and getting help when we need that. So we like to use that data. And just, again, to focus on the two people here to the side, the hiring and the training that they're providing our staff really is very commendable and a very difficult thing to do. And I know something they take very personally, but they really do some really, really good work with that, not only hiring, but the training as well. And then just our outdoor space, our partnership, especially with our village of DeForest. Just as an example, it used to take us probably about 5 to 6 days to paint our athletic fields with stripes off of a purely just blank grass field. We partnered with the village. They own a robot, so they could come in and do something that took 5 days to do. They could do it in an afternoon because we partner with them, and they'll come in and they'll paint that for us. And it actually is perfectly, and now we don't have to rely on our math and our strings and everything and fighting because it's not going well. So it really, really helps a ton. And then just our focus on playgrounds, making sure that they're safe. We were able to we wood chip all of our playgrounds K6 and make sure that they're safe for all of our kids and the community as well. So that focus on the outdoor space in partnership with the village and with our outdoor vendors too, because we do believe that that's a part that our community always will see. They may not walk into our buildings, but they'll see that outside. So that becomes really important to us. We have a lot of opportunities for growth, as we know. One of those main things being our cleanliness standards, as Katie is getting used to. What do we actually do here in the district? What do our staff know? What can they do? But that will provide that consistency that we need no matter what building we're in. Also deals with growth and supporting our staff and developing our professional development plan around that with our standards that we have, just like we do in the classroom with learning. We want to have that with our staff as well. Developing an inventory system. We have space to bulk order things, hold on to them so we get them at a cheaper price, and then we don't have to wait for deliveries to come in, because a lot of times when you need something, you needed it yesterday. So we're working on that kind of system right now to work on that. Our facility use planning becomes important, as we saw from last meeting about how much our facilities are used outside of the school day. This requires a deeper dive into how we're using our facilities, who's using our facilities, how much we charge for our facilities, what is the staffing that we need to support our clients when they come in, what are the expectations. So those are all things that the committee of Katie, myself, Jordan Franklin, my administrative assistant, and Rick Hennard all get together every week, look at that, planning on that. We've also engaged our local tier 1 and tier 2 users, those local groups that use our facilities, asking them for input. We did that in July of this past year to see what do they need, what do they value in facilities as we work to try to figure out a consistent system. So that's some big work that we're doing. And then, like we mentioned, last time we met is our staff training. And this is interesting. 28% of our current staff was hired in 2025, actually, including these two wonderful people to my side here. So it's important that we train them, we support them. With that many new staff, it's important that we have that consistency, and that comes with roadblocks as we look and we work on organizational change and how we do that. That's some of the work that we're doing behind the scene with our leadership to support our staff and making sure that they're supported as well. So there are a lot of action steps to accomplish that and even more within OE 12. Around safety, again, our focus on reunification becomes important. In March, we'll have members of the school safety from Homeland Security come in. So the federal government will come in and look at our sites, making sure that they're safe to their level as well, give us feedback, bringing them in to give us that more feedback with everything. We're developing medical response teams so that we have staff on site to deal with those major medical emergencies that happen until first responders come in. So getting them training, getting them supplies. We're doing a full look at our camera system within the district with over 360 cameras and over 650 views across our district to stay up on top of those and work collaboratively with our tech department becomes really, really important to do. So we're doing a deep dive into our camera system to make sure that we have technology that works and that makes hopefully our building leaders' job maybe a little bit easier as well. And then, of course, growing our SRO program from the referendum passed in November of 2024, working with Dane County and the Village of Windsor to add to our SRO program, especially at the Windsor sites. Buildings and grounds, again, like I said, professional development is important. We're working on that. Cleanliness standards, inventory system, and something really excited about that Dan and I have started working on, and that's retro commissioning. Retro commissioning is like a tune-up that you would do for your car, but you do it for your buildings. It's diving deep into how everything is set, whether you know it or not, everything is on a computer system. From the degrees and temperature to when your lights turn on and off in our buildings, and just adjusting those just a little bit can save tens of thousands of dollars every year in utility costs. So it's recommended that every 5 to 6 years you do a retro commission of our facilities. It's something Dan had done in his previous work in the hospital and that we're bringing to DeForest here and looking at, is everything set the way it should be set? We had a vendor come in and look, is it actually worth it? And his response was, oh yeah, we could find a lot of savings. And it won't be a savings where, oh boy, everybody has to wear an extra sweater because it's dropped 15 degrees. No, they do it in a way that you actually don't even notice the change. That's the intent with it. So really excited about putting that into place. And then just our facility use, that's a big project that we'll continue to do. Katie, myself, and the team, just creating systems, fee structures, approval, billing, collection, expectations, usage. Again, our buildings are used 6 a.m. to 10:30 at night, every night. It's very odd if they're not used. So how do we set up usage for that and allow their staff to do work in those places and make sure that we upkeep our facilities to the level that our community expects? So this is some of the work that we're doing to continually improve, and hard work, but I think rewarding work. Say that. They have a lot of words to say, as you can see. But that's really all that we have. So I'll turn it over to you at this point.
For that reason, we've marked this report in compliance with exception, moving it out of not in compliance, which it had been in the past. So Ms. Roz went over the reasons why.
Do I have a motion on this?
I'll make a motion to accept the report as written.
Thank you. Do we have a motion? Do we have a second? Do we have a second? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? All right, we now own the report. We can ask questions.
The one question or the one thing I just want to make sure that everybody kind of understands when we talk about these action plans for the safety piece of it, we do have processes in place currently around reunification, and we've done site assessments, and we do have, like, we've got those processes is in place. It's really continuing to review and continue to incorporate more things that we've learned. I don't want people to get like the wrong impression and think that DeForest doesn't have any of that yet. Like that was just my only concern, is just looking at it. We have those in place.
Yeah, we have
And
it.
this is really just continuing to just tighten that up, because it'll never, ever be tight enough.
Right, exactly. And that's a great point. I appreciate you saying that. Part of our philosophy with safety is just that continuous improvement about how do we continually get better with it? How do we build understanding? This year, we were able to go to every single building and train every single staff member on reunification. Really, it's really diving deeper into what we do. And again, never done. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that
Today,
it's.
Raz just had us go through, we meet as directors on Mondays, and he had us go through, brought in law enforcement and go through an hour of it was a true tabletop exercise, where we had to practice incident command, like how would we do communication, the decision-making points. And that is, he does that with us regularly. So you are right. Like, we have all these structures in place. It's constantly being able to practice enough so that we feel really confident.
Yes.
If we ever had one of those moments.
Yeah, I just want to add on to that. I want to commend you guys, because I know a lot of places have emergency plans. Not a lot of places actually practice those plans and see what happens when you try to. And if you don't practice them, when the actual emergency happens, you're not ready. So I really commend you for keeping up that and integrating and working with everybody that you do work with. It's really good.
Thank you. Yeah, and I'll pass that thanks on to our building leaders too, as monthly, they're doing it with their staff as well. So it's not just sits in
Right,
one isolated area. It truly is embedded in what we do.
right. And I just want to make sure that that is, we see it and I feel it and we take pride in it. And I think that we are one of the safest districts in the county. I mean, I might be biased, but I just want to make sure that we're really clear on that. When we see those action steps, and if anybody's looking at that PowerPoint, I don't want them to think they don't have that stuff.
I have a question about the camera. You mentioned that we have so many and we're looking at, these are recording, right? I mean,
Correct.
we're keeping that, so it's just ongoing.
Yep.
Recording content.
That's how our system works. We have something called NVR that records that footage and keeps that footage. And then it does record over that footage.
Yeah,
It's not everlasting.
Forever.
Oh, okay, so it doesn't.
Yeah.
Okay.
Depending upon the type of camera, the location, how much movement there is, can go anywhere from probably 20 to 40 days worth of
Okay.
footage that we
So it
keep,
does, okay.
depending upon the
Can
camera.
you hear?
No.
Your sound is just.
It's just visual.
Okay, just visual. Okay.
Don't be saying anything.
Yeah, go ahead.
Two questions.
Yes.
The 28%
Yes.
turnover, that's not uncommon. I mean, that actually, that number falls in line with our work. So
Okay.
how do you guys see that? I mean, that's just pretty much the new way of business?
I think more than anything, I would say with that is I can honestly say for the first time since starting my work in July 1st, 2024, I have a standing in our weekly meeting. Our standing first one is staffing. Where are we at? Because it never was full. We've been full for the past month, right? And it's really thanks to more than. Push back on that. Yeah, you're got it. Because that became one of those important things when I hired these two wonderful people is how do we keep, and maybe within industry standard, and it is part of everything. Also, longevity is part of what we try to do in the DeForest Area School District, whether it's a teacher, an administrator, a custodian, a maintenance mechanic, we're going to try because we know that we can keep that going for longer. That consistency will help with our work. So, yeah.
And then the second comment, I love the maintenance stuff. That's a
Yeah.
role I can understand and relate to. So that program makes sense.
Yes.
It's good to see the numbers are coming down.
Yeah. It's, again, I'm looking forward to seeing it even more. This preventative maintenance that we started to do, the work that Katie's doing with her staff, Dan's doing with his, it's amazing, these improvements about how it happens and how we're taking care of and changing a mindset about how we take care of those things that we don't see. And taking care of the things you do see as well. So,
Do we see any budget issues there? I mean, there.
always, but like I said, we have they schedule with the amount of assets that we have, they say about 4 million a year. We've got 1 million a year. So there's some creative budgeting that we have to do, but that's all part of the program and all part of the process of starting in October, talking through, looking at it, putting our hands on absolutely everything. By doing preventative maintenance work, we were able to take a number of things this year and say, we don't need to focus on that this year. This is what we really can do.
So the company that helps create the data has said to budget 4 million a year.
Yeah.
And we have 1 million.
Yeah.
So we are never going to probably meet that program's projections without a whole lot more, in there. So we're working with a deficit budget on this.
But what we're trying to do, and there's the example, right? We have 121, almost $122 million worth of assets that we have in our system. But how much, so looking at it to make those decisions about, yeah, it would be great to be able to budget that. We're not going to be able to. So how do we take care of what we have and do that preventative maintenance so we don't have to worry about that? So when we look at all the assets and where they are with reds and greens and everything, we were able to put our hands on every single one of these red areas here and say, nope, we don't need to focus on all one of those because of the work that we've done. Those can go down to an orange level, and we'll see that change when we update that new data. But it's all based upon data, all based on longitudinal data and decisions based around that, not just how I feel or what building thinks I need the most. It's how do we really make those decisions? Because we'll always have reds, we'll always have oranges, yellows, greens, but it's taking care of that. it's a heat map for learning. So same that we do for kids with their learning, we're going to do for buildings as well. So it really becomes helpful.
Well, and if I may add too, training our internal staff, whether it's a maintenance mechanic or a custodian, head custodian, to be able to do these repairs so we don't have to hire very expensive outside contractors is huge when it comes to budgeting. So that's when Roz talks so heavily about training, that's where we're focusing our energy on. Katie and I are both focusing on making sure we're training our internal staff to make sure that we can make these repairs without hiring a plumber or a carpenter or things to those effects. So we're really utilizing more of our internal staff than I think what has been historically done before.
It's amazing watching both of them not only teach how to do that, but what to look for and what to hear for. Their ears are amazing to say, oh, do you hear that? And they can hear things before it gets bad or see things about, oh no, this is something we have to address right away. It's been really neat to learn from them and watch them as they are able to proactively change our department to proactive rather than reactive.
And
Very,
that's the
very
part, that's the
good stuff.
component, I guess I want to say, when we were talking about the $1 and $4 million, this data and their expertise, Katie and Dan and Roz's, helping so that we stay focused on what's most important. That's been really helpful. So it's not as reactive, more in the proactive side of things.
And remind me, we're 1 year into having like the data, right? So we're just going to continue to get smarter and smarter with it, and which is exciting. So
The push
I
becomes
love that data.
the
And
better data you can put in, the better data we get out. So that's something I continue to push to say everything you do, we need to change. Like we just gave them new information about all of our roofs. We had somebody come and let's go deeper with a roofing contractor rather than to have somebody else come in. Let's really get some good data about what we know, what do we need to do to make sure that we take care of things and we address them as quickly as possible. So
One question that I have, and I'm just curious, because you had a whole long list of to-dos. So I'm not jumping on you, but I'm just curious.
Mhm.
In 24, 25, it was develop a team to review and update, like permits, pricing structure, things like that. And then I see
Same thing.
it has gone up though.
Mhm.
So is that something that you've looked at and you're continuing to restructure, or is that something that because the list was so long, we needed to add it on because we just didn't have time to get to it? And I can respect both
no,
ways.
yeah, no, and I appreciate that question. No, these are all things that, yes, we're doing.
Okay.
And just, I guess, to show that we're going to continue to do it and continue. It's almost the point that Megan brought up about we have it, but we're going to continually get better.
Okay.
We have something in writing. Yeah, we have that. Do we have that compliance piece about it's done? Yeah. Is it to the level we need it to be? No.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask, but I'm like, you went from red to, I'm not, beating you down.
No, but it's a good drive. There's a lot of stuff we have to do. When I started going over with both of them, okay, what do we need to do here? There's a lot of work, but we're gonna work hard on that. And it's balancing our time, our schedule, our structure to do the best we can with that. So, yeah. No. Yeah.
Sorry, I had a couple of questions on just some of the evidence that were provided on some of the indicators. So when I look at like 12.1 indicator 1, you look at capital facility improvement and maintenance plan, and I just wonder if it would be, I know you referenced that it was introduced to the board,
Mhm.
but instead of putting in there the link to the anticipated projects, like if you literally put the capital maintenance plan link in there instead of the annual report, if that makes sense?
It does. The big thing is the capital maintenance plan is right behind you.
Yeah.
And so it's very,
Yeah.
very, very, very.
But otherwise, we don't
shows.
see anything other
Right.
than what was already done a year ago.
Yeah, so I guess I'm wondering, what is the best way to show everything that we have? What's
Almost
behind you here?
Working session on the data after we're a year into that data, and it's almost like we need to like revisit that data. And
I'm
as a
sure he
team-
does.
Yeah,
with
no,
his
but like,
team and
I mean,
create a new list
no,
of
but I
things
mean,
to
like,
do.
like with us as a board to review,
like what the data has done. And now, I mean, now you can see some trending
Right.
in that data. And then are there data points that help us try to figure that, I don't
Just
know.
like I
So,
don't
I mean, I'm not.
Because those aren't proportional in money.
Mm.
So there's air handlers up there, so the money's not, I mean, you could show it a pie graph, there's more red than green, but it doesn't represent cash.
Well, I mean, if we're asking for a
Sorry,
facility maintenance plan and improvement, including like for the next 5 years,
Yeah.
that file from the annual report from last year of what we did does not provide evidence that we're providing that, if that makes sense. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So then I look to like, and there were a couple of them, and it's like minor, but if you look at like 12.4 indicator 1, 90% of custodial inspection reviews indicate, in nowhere in there does it say that 90% of them were hit or not.
Yeah, because they weren't.
Right. So like, I think even if we're not, we should say, we didn't meet this. Here's, you
Yeah.
know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And like, I think about, there was another like 12.6 indicator 2 was the same way. There's no, like, I want to take your word for it. And there's a lot of words in there saying what you're doing. But I feel like it doesn't really prove whether we're hitting that mark or not hitting that mark in one way or the other,
Yeah, that was.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, that was a, yeah.
3 on 12.4, you know, the evidence provided is not what the indicator is.
And I think that's a question as I'm learning about, maybe that's the question about what the indicator is asking for. Is there a better way to show that?
Right.
I haven't
I'm not
figured that
sure.
out.
We're not
I
sure
figured-
if there is
I haven't
data.
figured that out, but I want to show that the work that we're doing is making, but I also want to make sure that it is the information that you all want or need to show that we are, again, our facilities aid in our kids' learning, right? And being that importance with that. So
I mean, I'm not being nitpicky. I think there were, I
No,
think I found like 4 that I was like reading and I'm like, well, it says you're doing these things, but really there's no like actual, and maybe there
other than me saying
isn't.
I'm doing it.
Right, other than you saying you're doing it. And I don't know that there's a report, but it seems like we're asking for a plan or report and it's not there. So if that's the case, then maybe the indicator needs to be reworded.
Yeah, I was just gonna
I
say
don't
that could
know.
be part of it. So I guess I would like some thoughts back to your original question about the capital projects plan. So page 6 of the annual budget is, the annual budget is
Yep.
linked in there, and then page 6 is where that exists. So is that what you're saying, is that that's not enough evidence of a plan? It's the it's definitely what occurred.
Right.
Okay, so you're looking for
Yeah, because we're talking it
more of
saying
a-
like the
Look at
indicator is
the
written
policy. What does
5
the
years
policy
out.
Say?
Something that I shouldn't have.
So is it, you just want, if I look here and go, here's all the list of things that we would be looking at within the next 5 years behind you and the costs associated with each one of those 5
Correct.
things.
Yep.
So you would just need a copy of,
That's literally
look behind.
what it's asking for. And I'm not saying that's not,
Yeah.
I mean, that is part
It
of the
is.
proof of
It
the
is.
first part of it, but we're
Yeah.
not, like, the rest of it we're missing. And maybe the board doesn't need that, but it's currently asking for it and we're not getting it.
Sure.
If that makes sense. And maybe,
Makes sense.
like, it sounds like there
I mean, it
could
is
be a
it's as
report.
simple as, we've got it, right, with that, and to
Yeah.
go, to your point, the cost of an air handler being,
Right.
100 is different than a roof being 1.2.
Because again, if you think about what the board does and can do, right? If we're only giving him $1 million and we see that there is, I don't even know, so many projects that we're like, no, we really want to do X, Y, Z during this year and it's going to cost more than that. That is within the board's authority to move that money and make it happen, should we choose to do that. So like, that's when I think about like, is there something big that we're like, as a board, we want, or the community wants, like, we need to give you money for that more than what you're getting, if that makes sense.
I agree with that, and Gail, I think I understand your point. At some point, if the rock gets too big and moves too fast, it's gonna be hard to crush it, right? So if we see some big expenditures, maybe there is a year we go, hey, we're gonna increase that 1 million to something greater,
Sure.
just so that doesn't get out of control. That's what I think you're saying, Gail?
And I'll flip it and go, if I do my job correct, it won't get out of control and I'll be able to long-range plan and budget for that, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but being aware of that 5-year outlook, like, okay, we've got something coming year
Yeah.
3 that we need to figure out how we're gonna budget for.
Sure.
I want to verify what the board is asking, just so that we move forward in a way that we're meeting the needs of you all and the district. So it's, what I'm hearing is that when there's an indicator that we're not compliant on, or even we are compliant on, that you want to see specific data that supports that. Is that
I
what
would
I
say,
thought I
like,
heard?
if you're saying like it's asking for an action plan and there's no action plan in there, you're just saying that we have one.
Okay, so it's not, yeah, you can't do the,
You
like,
can't
trust stuff.
Correct. Like that to me feels like,
Yep, that's
okay,
fair, yeah.
well, I guess there's an action plan because I saw this
And
one, but I,
we have been very, I mean,
Right.
you're used to seeing all the evidence,
Right,
so we can, that's
Absolutely.
definitely a good,
Yeah.
good feedback.
Great direction.
Okay, so that was it, is to make sure that we have specific.
I think if it's, yeah, if we're asking for stuff and it's not in there, I think,
Yeah.
there should be data to support or not support.
Okay,
And it's not to say we can't look at the indicators and see if they need to be revised,
Correct.
but if the
Yeah.
indicator says this is what we want, then the evidence doesn't match it, then it's a mismatch.
okay, that sounds good.
And again, maybe if the board decides it doesn't need it, I just feel like it was there, so.
I'm seeing a lot of head nods, and that's no different than what we've done with our other reports. So, okay.
Your thought?
Yeah, no, I've got 6 thoughts.
One at a time, please.
Yeah. Yeah, that whole trust me.
Yeah.
That, you know, kind of.
It's hard. It's really hard. We do trust you. Don't get us wrong. We do trust you, but we need, yes, and I guess another thing that I guess I would just add into, like, I think it was 12.1 indicator 3, when we talk about the facility study and it was done, that the board asked to see that more often than what the report indicated we needed. And I think that's important to note because of the growth, and because we're trying to be responsible and plan for that. Like, I think it's been stated in other ways too, but if it's in here and we're saying only every other year, but we're doing it more
Every year.
frequently for a reason, right? And that was requested by the board.
And to Brian's comment, again, with the indicators, and, you know, indicator-specific data, but having a new set of eyes on it and people looking at it differently, you know, it's not our place to tell you the indicator is wrong. It's for indicators, you guys coming to us saying this doesn't fit anymore.
Yep.
And, you know, with the indicator revisions, you know, obviously that people, and so, you know, maybe the things that we're looking for are, I don't, you know, not the examples that Gail's given, but, you know, some of the things that we're looking for are outdated, or we've missed something, or did you know, we should be including this kind of thing.
I think that your team is definitely doing new things. Whatever you said he was doing, that was, you called it something.
Retro commission.
Yeah, there you go. That I thought, okay, well, that's something we haven't monitored before. Is that, you know, something that we need to say, hey, we're doing this, et cetera. You know, like, you have
I
a new
guess I wanna
team and
say-
you,
Yeah, to use Jeff's analogy, we're trying to make the rock go as slow as possible, because boy, it's going.
it's rolling, that boulder's rolling. Yeah.
And we're just trying to understand what is out there and what does this look like? So I appreciate the understanding.
And maybe this helps, like Katie and Dan, you're newer, that the board wants us to have indicators that we feel are most impactful. So we have an opportunity to look at this and make it the way we need to, so that we're driving the district in the direction that matches the policy. So the blue language in the report is really theirs, and the rest of it, we can own a little bit of those indicators, all of them, actually.
The other thing I asked about or thought about is the capacity building. I see this in multiple reports about continuing professional development, and I know it's not in here, and I know you guys are working really hard with your staff on doing that, and you came and told us what you were doing, and I think the whole board was really impressed with that. And I think it's really important to have that in there, because it was impactful to us when you came and told us what you were doing, and including buildings and grounds and professional development. And I don't think a lot of people or districts do that. And so I think it's definitely helpful to retain our staff. And I just think it's worth noting to put in your capacity building. I know you are going to continue, but yeah.
It's
Sorry,
such a
go ahead.
big part of what
It
we
is.
do. It's the people, and it's hard to measure.
Yep.
You know, with numbers that are on a scale, but it's huge.
Yep.
I think we upped the money a couple of years back, right? Oops, I don't remember what it was before, but the $1 million we have for building and ground. And I see this really nice program, says we should have 4, which however,
Read.
Something.
is our asset, what we have allocated for resources, is it within reasonable amount of money? Has anybody ever done an audit, a non-biased audit that's not selling us something?
Right.
That says, hey, you have $121 million of assets. You should have this much planned for repair maintenance.
I think giving us a little bit of time to live this, since this is really our first year doing it, becomes the piece that we need to do to answer that question. I think it's also difficult to find an independent auditor who doesn't want to tell us something. But I mean, we've done one cycle of it, and I can say, yeah, for one cycle, great. We have heat today because of that. We'll have another building that will have cooling because of that. But I think looking forward, I'm excited about next year's plan with what we're gonna do. But giving us a little bit of time to look at that, to go, okay, the community said, let's double that, let's make it $1 million. Let's go with that, and just to see where we're at with it, to see what can we do with that. Because again, a lot plays into that, the preventative maintenance, the constant upkeep and care of things that we're doing, our work order system, all will play into that. So I think we'll know that in a few years as well too, so.
And I want to double down with Gail. The professional development for your team is extremely important.
Right there.
And I support it.
Yeah, right there.
And you said, how do you put those numbers to it? You put those numbers to it by saying, we didn't have to hire these outside contractors.
Yeah.
I mean, that's huge.
So I think, this year, as you guys are getting your feet under you, what I say, or what I think I heard from everybody here is that, take a look at the policy in the blue box and think about what you think would be the best indicators that you're living up to the policy. That's really your role, is to tell us, here's how we're going to prove to you that we're living by the policy. And if the indicators you have right now, they weren't created by any of you. So think about what's the best evidence you want to present to us, and absolutely change it.
And I think that's where, when we talked about, last year when I sat down for the first time up front, and Rebecca was very good to remind me, hey, this is going to take time. This is going to take time. Let's take time. I think that's when I'm finding out more than ever. This isn't about right now being compliant with what we have. Give us a year, we could put in that. But it's really that long range about what are we looking for to really take us to that next level, because we're implementing change within our system. It's okay, so we're able to do this, so how do we know when we're successful? It's one of the questions that first meeting that I've had with both of them in August, to say, when we look at July 1, 2026, how do we know that we're ahead from where we were July 1st, 2025, right? How do we know that we've taken a step forward? What are those things that really show us that we're making an improvement? Because we'll do this throughout the year. We'll go forward, we'll go back. It happens when you do this institutional change, but how do we really know that we're making a difference? And what are those things that are showing us that we're doing this? Are we focusing on preventative maintenance? Are we focusing on our cleanliness standards? What are those things we know that are making the biggest impact? I just don't think we know yet, because it's so new, if that makes sense.
The other thing that I would entertain or ask the board is potentially having a facilities use update before the changes go into effect, whether that be through a board update, or I don't think it's necessarily being involved in the changes. I just think that that's going to be a hot topic item, that for us to be able to understand what changes might happen.
You're talking about the rental?
Correct.
component?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
As you work through what that looks like,
Yep.
just to keep the board up to
What
date.
did it look like before? What is it going to be currently? Absolutely.
I think the community is going to be very involved in that.
Well, I mean, we have learned, as when you reach out and do something different, to back up and make sure we involve people in that. So that is
There's a big learning curve, and to bring you along.
Yeah.
taking time to make it right. So.
Yeah. So I hope you guys know, like, there has been a ton of good progress in the report. So we're not being picky. I think we're confident in the direction that you're going. So I hope that you know that we're not being critical of your report, and I think that
We're going to get the proper credit.
I think things are going in the right direction. So thank
And,
you.
Yeah, along with that, and this isn't something that needs an answer, but as Stephanie pointed out, the action plan, the list is long and, you know, not so many things that do need to be done. But does this list have, is there a priority order to the list at all? And these things that you're doing, do they go back and are they impactful in some area of this report? You know, have you looked at this and said, oh, you know, this ties to,
Indicator.
yeah. That kind of, you know, so because, I mean, those, not that they're not important, but when you look at the things that we're asking for that we think are important, and then kind of telling us we're wrong, those aren't important anymore. This is what you know, so just, yeah, the action items tying back to indicators.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Anything else?
I have one more detail, but and I'm sort of like hesitate to ask now, but I'm.
No, please don't.
Because the big picture thing,
Yeah.
nothing in Korea are happening. You mentioned that the heat issue in Harvest is an ongoing, in the gym, is an ongoing.
Yeah, that was something that we ran into last year and then digging to find out that it had been replaced 2-3 times. So it's reaching back out to those original contractors that said they were going to do this to say, you didn't do it successfully. I need you to redo that.
So there's accountability back.
Absolutely. That and included in that misuse of facility, that becomes that piece about whether it's something we find when we're looking through, whether, boy, these lights that were just put in 4 years ago are already going bad. That doesn't seem right. Let's reach out to the contractor to do that. Those become really a fiscally responsible thing that we need to make sure that we hold people accountable for the service that they said that they provided to us.
So
And
we're
so,
looking always forward and backward.
absolutely.
In terms of guarantees.
Yeah, I think that's something that Dan and Katie's eyes both opened wide to, and mine too, when I came in about, yeah, we need to make sure that this is something that our community paid for, and this is what we need to do, and partner with those people and make sure that everything is made right with that. Yeah. 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 Whether it's the heat or the roof or whatever it is, right? Exactly. Yep. Make sure we stay on top of that. Ask away with that.
Any other questions? No? Okay, hearing none, I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the report as written.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll say.
Second. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Potential indicator revision for OE 12.
No, our,
Okay.
yeah.
You just clicked out of.
Thank you, Katie and Dan. Yeah.
I'm sure there's a lot like. The changes just look like wording, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
they do.
it's wording only right now. We realized it said annual report, but it really should have been annual budget report. And then also, instead of presented, because it's nothing presented, it's just utilized. So those are two wordings, and then a requested date. So it's just wording at this point, because I think the team now can take some of the content that you just heard and
Yeah. Really grow from that. Yeah, I think that presented piece versus utilized becomes important, that it is part of our, whenever we do a large purchase, we are looking at return on investment, we are looking at comparisons and looking at many different things to make sure that we're putting the right asset into place to replace, and that those assets are installed correctly, and we've got commissioning reports with that, make sure that they're done correctly. In the past, it was just install, leave it, walk away. Something's bound to break really quick with that, so.
Any questions on the indicator changes? No? Okay. Thanks, Roz.
Thank you.
Stephanie, any other, I mean, I saw you writing while we were talking. Anything else you need for a summary statement? Anything anybody want to add that wasn't said? I mean, we said a lot, but.
Yeah, can you give us just a quick rundown?
So we appreciate the safety plans. So we want to see, when there's an action plan listed, we want to see the evidence behind that in the report. So, and that's, let me go back from here. I don't know how, I usually get detailed and then I have to take some out. So, PD days, we like that, across the board, the team, that.
Can we have something in there about like what we encourage them to look at the indicators and,
I was going there.
okay,
Yeah, look at indicators, see if there's a need for revision of them. I have that in there. And then, so facility use update before it comes to the board. So we want to get an update on that before it comes to the board. And especially in particular about rentals. And then, Megan, and then Jeff second.
Yeah, I guess one thing, and this could be a specific or general, but for 12.1 indicator 4, just having some sort of scale or identifier, just making it so that it's more intuitive or understandable what those numbers mean.
Yeah, so that when it's
That was what you
down
presented
by a
before
certain
the
percent
first
or a
thing.
certain decimal point, you know
Yeah,
what that means.
provided, yeah, saying it's a 5-point scale didn't match what the numbers meant.
I wonder if you could even generalize it just so that it's not super long. I mean, you
Yeah, it
can
could be
specifically
generalized.
call that out, but I would say revisit indicators and make sure we're getting data that is, or evidence that is matching the indicator and understandable.
Yeah.
Basically.
That matches.
Good feedback. Anything else that we didn't catch? You didn't catch? No? Are you good?
The other thing, just I thought, I wanted to highlight the team support, both functioning, both internal and external, in terms of operating with key people, and involving key people in decision-making, database decision-making, standards-based professional development, continuous improvement, and there's some just the concepts, and generally professionalism and focus on prevention. These are all things I think appreciate.
Focus on training the team to be able to handle more maintenance and
Internally, yeah.
is really commendable.
Mhm.
Good thoughts.
I had like 2 different ones.
She can copy those, right? Okay. All right. That brings us to item G, board approval of open enrollment seats for 26-27 school year.
I will invite Kathy Davis to come back to the table. She helps oversee open enrollment and enrollments.
So it is the time of year where we need the board to officially approve our open enrollment spaces for next school year. It has to be done in January annually. And we do have some spaces that we'd actually like to declare. In your board packet, there was more information regarding kind of the background and process that we use in determining these spaces. It's not just something we make up. There's actually a lot of data, a lot of looking at our enrollment projections, knowing what our current FTE is, the staffing, and just making sure that we're accounting for our growth as well. Melissa Bowles is our data specialist. She does the majority of this work. And she spends a lot of time looking at the numbers and reviewing our information just to make sure that we're being as close as we can. It's always a guess with what our enrollment will be next year, but we want to make sure that we do our due diligence because we don't want to be in a situation where we are over capacity or under capacity for that matter. So for this school year, we are recommending that the board approve no space restrictions at 4K, which is typical that we've done that. But then for kindergarten, we'd like the board to consider approving 4 spaces. And the reason we have 4 spaces this year is primarily because our 4K numbers are so much less than they have been in previous years. And so with our current staffing levels, we can fit a few more kindergarten spaces in there. And yet still allow we do have some numbers for kids that come in, because we do tend to get some kids that will move in during the summer, and that's all part of these calculations. The other grades, we are recommending 0 spaces for 1st through 12th and 0 spaces in all our special education programming for open enrollment. Are there any questions?
Why do we have no space? Just curious.
We base it on our policy, 5113, I believe, which basically is based on FTE class sizes, and then 85% of capacity, because we do get a lot of move-ins. And so when you run the numbers, there's no space. There actually, it looks like we're over space using those calculations.
The biggest thing that gets in our way, well, it's a great thing being a growing district, but we get enrollment from here until September. And we kept track of those trends of how many kids come in, and it does not pay, nor is it in policy for allow us to add FTE for the purposes of open enrollment.
So essentially this little table you shared, we're leaving 15% out for growth.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it. Are there any other questions?
This is a question, I'm just gonna surprise everybody, around 4K. I know, right? Do we control the seats for that versus the actual, because we contract that out basically to our community partners, and there's no limit on that in this, but I would assume they would have limits, right?
Yeah, it's, we can control the seats, the school board can declare. We've typically declared no space restrictions because we haven't had any issues on the 4K. And we do tend to get with some of our providers that are maybe more to like the Sun Prairie area, a lot of open enrollment in. So we might as well do that while we can at that grade level.
And that creates stability from 4K on. We know those numbers.
Correct. Yeah, so we reached out to them to make sure that they have space.
They still have to approve it anyways, right?
Yeah, well, I don't know if we reach out to them for this purpose, but we plan how many sessions and ability we have, and we do have the ability to expand at our 4K sites. Okay. That's all.
You're welcome.
When was the last time we had seats available for open enrollment? Because it's
the first year
been a
after
while.
harvest came on. That was. It's been a while.
Was it just the last meeting we talked about this in terms of, looking at it and making sure when you, the dollars out, the dollars in, and that sort of a thing. And so it's not like we're being, kind of snooty and we don't want anybody in. It's actually a
We
real.
were trying to find a way to get more in, but we have to follow the policy, which is written for a reason. It's to protect the district financially so that we don't overextend. And then we increase class sizes to the point where we have to hire FTE in August.
Yeah, I think people are gonna appreciate the class sizes staying where they are, being that that's in policy. I mean, I think that's important to our community to keep that like that. And if we can't change FTE, then that would be really irresponsible of us to increase.
No, but we need to make it clear that we have space. We have 15% cushion. So somebody needs, because if somebody reads it saying we didn't accept anybody, it looks bad if we don't word that properly.
Well, if you look on the bottom of the chart, it does say available space calculated by adding current enrollment and reserve spaces for growth. So it says 85% max capacity. So
I get that, but if somebody reads the board notes, highlights, it's gonna say we approved one new space if they don't read the report, correct?
And we do have
Does that make sense what I'm saying?
So any student who moves in the district as a public educator, we have to.
We have to.
Yeah.
So for my understanding, I'm not understanding. You're saying that if we say we're only approving 4 spaces it looks to everyone outside that may not understand that if you move in the district, you're going to, I'm not understanding the
So,
question here.
okay, some months ago, we had this discussion about open enrollment. We have some people in the audience about open enrollment. There was some questions about why we didn't take more people, right? There was a very big question about that. What I'm saying is we need to make it very clear that when we're approving these 4 spaces, if we do that, that it's not saying we have only 4 spaces. We have 15% more capacity than what we're actually approving.
If we do that, would that not make people think, well, why don't you go ahead and take these? I think you're creating a problem.
No, we're
If
not,
you
we're not
do
letting
that.
people know that. We're saying we have 4 because we have to plan for growth. Because based on the current history numbers, we will fill our seats.
Yep.
We just aren't gonna have 110%. We're looking to try to get to 100%.
So just restating what's at the bottom of this.
Again, if you read that, I read that, we understand it. But if people read the cliff notes, it's gonna.
It wouldn't, yeah, but that would be true of any report.
No, I know, but this one was, I know there was a lot of questions about this a few months ago.
Well, then they can read the report because it's duly stated or watch the video saying
Clear enough.
we have a conversation. Yes, saying this is why. I think you make it very clear in the documents that you provided, which is open to the public for them to view.
Perfect.
I think that suffice. I don't think it's necessarily us adding to our notes, nor is that required to add to our notes. The motion's going to be very proper, I want to say. That makes sense. And it has to be for legal reasons, but I think the information in here explains why.
And just for reference, last year we picked up 129 students, residents.
Internal.
Yes. So we do get quite a few. We do have a suggested motion, because we now have 4 spaces, we have to get that in the minutes. And so the motion does need to use the actual numbers, because we have some numbers to declare. And that is up on the board.
Does anybody have any more, before we start, does anybody have any more questions?
So in terms of the 4 slots we have in kindergarten, we're saying they need to be regular education. So that answers the part about not in your space in special ed. What about in 4K, if children come in with an IEP from early childhood special ed?
There is,
Is that, are we welcoming all 4K students with or without IEP?
the 4K restriction is for 4K regular education. I believe that should be how it's. We probably should clarify that, but there's no special education spaces in any of the categories. I think we should in the motion.
It is clear.
Make sure to clarify 4K regular education. I'm sorry, I don't think that's written on there.
It is. It is.
Okay.
It actually is.
Oh, thanks.
Yep.
Yep.
It is, okay.
Good question.
Read it if you want. I'll make a motion to approve 4 regular education open enrollment seats at the kindergarten grade level and no space restrictions for regular education open enrollment seats at the 4-year-old kindergarten level for the 2026-27 school year. There are no other seats available in any other regular education grade or special education services and or programs for the 2026-27 school year based on the criteria outlined in the district's open enrollment policy number 5113.
Okay. We have a motion. Do we have a second? Thank you.
Yes, second.
Second. We have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you.
That brings us to public input, and I have none. That brings us to board consent agenda. Would somebody care to make that motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the board consent agenda.
Thank you. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That brings us to superintendent consent agenda. Somebody care to make that motion?
I'll move approval of the superintendent consent agenda.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second, thank you. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? That brings us to press verification and is not here. Brings us to board debrief of meeting. Anybody have a driving question they want to ask? Thoughts on how we did?
It's a good meeting
Okay, lots of information.
Yeah.
Yep,
and good interaction.
the board definitely came prepared with questions, which is great. And interaction. Any other thoughts?
I think it was a good meeting, but I have a question about the debrief.
Yeah.
I thought we had come up with a structure for
That
how we were
hasn't
doing
been
it.
implemented yet,
Okay.
but yes, we did talk about that. Yeah. You are right. Good question. That's a good question. Other thoughts? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting is adjourned.